Why am I looking at you? You're a picture in a frame.
Hello friends, welcome back to our channel Mirror Neuron, which means watch and learn. And today we are going to solve the number of pairs of balloon of same color, and we will see step by step how to solve such problem. It's very simple and straightforward. And we will see if we had to do this manually, then how would we have done it, and can we translate the same thing in our programming language. Okay, so I'll take an example quickly of a pair of elements, say 1 1 2 2 3 3 3 and so on. And this is of course a different list than the one that I shared in the problem statement. This is just to show that the programming can be generalized for any number of elements and any different list. Okay, all right, so say this was the list of colors we have, and we have to find how many pairs do we have it. So manually, naturally, how would we do is we'll first count the number of same colored balloons. So in this case, if I have to make a list of it, so we have the first colored as 2 elements, the second colored also have 2 elements, and the third color have 3 elements, right? And in order to find the pair, and we know by taking 2 elements we can find a pair, we'll divide each of these value by 2, and then we'll get the number of pairs. So here we can create only one pair. Similarly, here we can create only one pair, and similarly divide by 2. In Python operations, we'll actually take a modulus. Okay, and in this case also we'll get a value 1. And then once we have all these values, we will sum it, and then we'll get a 3. So there are 3 steps involved if we broadly say it. One is counting. Second is finding the pairs, individual pairs, then finding individual pairs, right? And then the final operation is summing all the pairs. Simple, straightforward, and 3 steps. The same thing, now the question comes, how would we do that in Python programming? I'm taking the example of Python programming. You're free to choose any programming language you are comfortable with. Okay, so first of all, a list will be typically assigned a variable like this, and it will have all these elements, say 1 1 and so on. Okay, so first of all, I should be able to access all these individual value in certain way. And once I can access these values, individual values, then I should be able to put them somewhere. So basically I want to get a key 1, and then against it I want to put a count of 2 after the operations, of course. And then for a count of 2 I have say randomly 5. For 3 I want to keep a count of 7, and so on. Whatever count that comes up, I should be able to store these values. So Python provides me with a very wonderful data structure which is called dictionary, and it looks something like a open curly braces. And how it does is it creates a key and a value pair. So typically a value key looks like double quoted, not always, double quoted some value, say 5 comma, and it's long curly braces. And then curly for the second colors I have a count of 3 dot dot dot, and so on, right? This dictionary would look something like this. Okay, all right, now so that means the first step I need to do is I need to initialize a dictionary so that I can store this count. And how to do that in Python is I can just use a variable name count, and I can use the keyword dict, and this will create a empty dictionary for me. There will be no element at this point of time. Also, when we are calculating the individual pair, right, where we took the modulus, it will all this division for all these key pairs of 1 2 3 and so on, they all will have a pair count, and they will be all individual values. So I need to sum them up later on, so I have to store those values somewhere. So in that case, what I can do is I can use a list for storing those individual value, and I can initialize this as pair is equal to an empty list. So right now both my count and pair are empty list. Okay, now the actual programming starts. I want to go one element at a time and see whether it already exists here or not. Initially nothing will be there in this dictionary. If it is not there, then I would like to make an entry to this dictionary, and if it is already there, then I would like to increment it by 1. Okay, that's two very simple process. First it will check whether an uh, element already exists in this dictionary or not. If not, then make an entry and assign a value 1, and if it already exists, then just increment that value by 1. Okay, two steps. So let's see how to do that first counting process. So I will use a for loop. For, I'll just take a random variable I, and in where, in this list, right? Because I'm running this, I'm going to look one element at a time in this list. So L. Okay, now I'm inside this array. I'm this I basically will, I'll change the color. This I will basically first pick this value, then this value, and so on. Okay, now I also want to see whether this value already exists in my dictionary or not. Okay, so how do I do that? I can, again, after inside the for loop, I can write a simple if statement. Say if I in count. Very simple. I just want to see whether it exists in my count dictionary or not. But realize this, when I first come here, I would not get any element there. Right? So that means this statement will become false. But then eventually in the next step, it will become true. Correct. So for that, what I would like to do, if the element already exists, then I would say just increment the value. So in order to get the value, I have to pass this as a square bracket parameter, and I will say plus equal to 1 if the value of course exists. Else, if it does not exist already, then create an entry for it. So it will say count I equal to 1. There is no plus here, so we are not making an increment here, we are just assigning a value because this has appeared for the first time. So how it works is, so for example, the first element here is here. Okay, bring your attention here. So the first element is 1. I come to this loop, so it picks this, I picks 1 from this list L. Okay, comes here and comes here and sees, okay, if I in count, that means whether I is already available in count. It says no, it does not. So it will come to the else part and it will assign 1 to the color 1. Okay, then it moves to the next element here. Okay, and sees, okay, I see 1 already exists in count. So instead of coming to else, it will execute this step. It will move on. Then if it sees a 2, that means 2 is not there already in count, so it will again come to the else part, assign 2 here, and it will be assigned a value 1, and this process continues, right? Ultimately we get a dictionary where each of those keys are these values here, 1, then 2s, and so on. They will have the count of there. Okay, so my count variable, which is a dictionary, will contain all these values. Okay, so the counting is complete and all the count pairs are stored in this dictionary. Okay, now next what? Okay, next I can now run another loop on this count. So the count will look now something like this. Okay, these are all internal mapping, so you won't be able to see it, but yeah, of course we can print them out and see it. But so 1, the value 1 will have say some value count, the 2 will have some count say 5, the 3 will have some count say 7, and so on. Okay, so this is how our dictionary would look like. Okay, so we have the count variable. Now I'm going to do a for loop on this count. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the same variable again. So I'm going to say for just for not to create any confusion, I'll just use a different variable. For m in count, initially the loop was on the array itself, the given array itself. Okay, and now we are going to create this for loop on the count itself. So I'm going to take m. So when we write this kind of statement, this actually checks for the keys, okay, not the values. So the first element that m is going to pull is from the dictionary. So whatever is the first value, say if it was 1, then it will pull the key 1, okay, and it confirms, okay, it already exists there. So what it is going to do is, I'm going to use a second variable, say p, just for calculating the individual pairs. And how do I access the value of 1, which is the count of color 1, is simply by passing that parameter count m. This is how we access the value of that key m. Okay, then also I know that I'm going to take a modulus of this of 2, so that I get to know how many pair can I create with the same color. Now once I have this p, which is the individual value, and this is the pair for the color 1, then I want to store this value to a list, right, which was our pair, which we already defined earlier. So there I'm going to use a function called append, and I'm going to pass the parameter p. Once this is done, the for loop will get automatically incremented, and the next key is our 2. So whatever value for 2 comes up here, it will take the modulus, assign it to the pair. And how would our pair look like? So pair, initially it was empty. After accessing the first pair, it will say look like 3. After accessing the second pair, it will look like 3 comma say 5. And then after accessing the third key in the count dictionary, it will look like say 3, 5, 2, and so on. Okay, and our final step would be nothing but sum of pair, and this sum of pair is basically your final output. All right, so that's how you actually solve it. And if you had to put this in a function, which was the problem statement for earlier, all the script that we have written, you would put it inside a function, which will be like, you start with the function and you can say pairs, or you can say balloon pairs, and you'll pass the list of element here, okay, and write all your statement here. At the last, you'll just say return sum of pairs. Okay, that's all. I mean, this is all that was required in this problem statement. I hope you have understood how to first manually think it, then you take a piece of paper, write it step by step, what are the process you're going to follow, and then you write the syntax. Trust me, that's the best way out there to learn programming. If you jump start writing the syntax from the very first line, it is only going to confuse you and it will no longer be very interesting. Try to solve it using pen and paper. See whether you are logically able to come up with a workflow so that it will going to eventually calculate whatever you're looking for, and it will also help you make your thinking process better while solving programming challenges. So I hope the first one was very easy peasy, and I was able to explain how to do the thinking process and then how to translate that thinking process into a programming language. Stay tuned for the second daily coding challenge, which we'll try to post it today, and keep practicing, and over the time you'll see the hang of it and you'll actually be able to do better programming. Till then, have a great day, and please subscribe to our channel if you really like it. All right, you take care.